There we go.
Hey, it's Azra
Hello.
Lawless. And once again, you have dropped right into Hella Vella. And here we are today with another Vella author, E.J. Frost. And today we're going to talk to her about what she writes out here on Vella, how she got started, and all that stuff. Say hi, E.J.
Hello.
And is E.J. okay, or do you prefer another name?
EJ's great. That is, in fact, what everybody calls me.
All right, let's stick with that then. So, EJ, first question I always ask everybody is, what are your stories out on Vella?
I have two out on Vella right now. They're the first in a series and the second in a series, with the third coming in late March. So the first book is called Teddy's Boys, and the second book is called Gabe's Girl, and both of them are complete stories now.
What are they about?
They are paranormal romances. A Manchester lass has been exiled to a magic academy in Massachusetts, where she quickly discovers love and hatred, and gets embroiled in a murder of a fellow student that she has to solve in order to protect the boy that she loves.
Oh dear, and there's magic. This is a magical world.
Magic Academy, yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then, so you went on into Gabe's Girls, and what is that? Same premise?
Same world. They are still solving the mystery. They discover who killed the fellow student, and what her sacrifice was for. In the second book, and get closer to resolving the mystery, they meet some characters from my other books. So one of the characters is a demon, and he shows up in Gabe's Girl and helps them stop a monster that has come through a portal and is severing the ties to the Fae courts. So there's a big battle scene, and then shortly thereafter, Teddy, our heroine, is separated in time from her boys, and the third book is about her getting back.
Oh wow, so I heard the third. I heard third. What's the third one going to be? What's it called?
It's called Quaternion, just for a catchy, difficult title, which is in mathematics a set of 4. So it's a reverse. This is a reverse harem, and it's Teddy and her 3 boys. So they are a quaternion, a magical quaternion, and that will start in a sort of late March.
Now, what are the ages of these characters?
They're 19, 20 years old, and we have a Fae prince who's roaming around, who could be considerably older.
1,000, give or take a year.
He's studying with them at the Magical Academy, though.
Well, man, reverse harem has just gone crazy, AP.
Yep.
And I think it's really interesting. What age do you consider your books? Do you call them YA?
No, I would call this new adult. The themes in this are much darker than I would be comfortable young adults reading. I have a 20-year-old daughter myself, and when she says, "Oh, am I ready to read your books?" my answer is always no. There's on-screen death. There is human sacrifice. There are a lot of sort of dark themes, and so no, I would consider this new adult.
Okay, what do you think? How are you dealing with the sex?
On screen, it's right there. So again, I wouldn't consider this appropriate for younger readers.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear you say that. I'm not a prude or anything, but I did find a YA reverse harem where the door was closed,
the bedroom door was closed.
No, but I don't know. But the characters were all like in middle school.
No, oh right, okay.
And I said, "Whoa, hey, No, I'm progressive, but I don't know. I'm gonna go run and hide in the closet."
No, not that makes me uncomfortable, I'm afraid.
Well, I'm happy to hear you say they're new adult. Sounds like something I'd enjoy reading for sure. So those are the 3 you've got out on Vella. When did you begin? When did you start your writing career? When did you know you wanted to be a writer, and when did you start sitting down and really writing your stories?
When I was 12. I wrote my first story that was published in a local newspaper, and I'm really glad that the internet didn't exist back then, because that's really embarrassing. And so I'm really happy that nobody can look it up anymore without going and finding the microfiche.
That's sweet.
No, not so much. So yeah, I've been writing since I was really young. And I wrote my first novel at 17. I wrote it longhand in a series of notebooks. It was a little over 75,000 words, and I had to count them to figure out the word count. It's just always something that I wanted to do. I never saw it as a career, though. I always felt that I needed to be able to do something else. And so I went to college and I took creative writing courses, but it was never my major. I went to the Iowa Writing Workshop. Again, it's something I did as a summer program, but it was never something I was doing forever and ever and ever. I have a completely different career. I have a day job, but writing has always been something that I absolutely loved. And when I began really thinking about publishing, it was still sort of the dawn of ebooks. And I got an agent, and the agent began saying things to me like, well, do you have a social media presence? And I was like, no. I barely know what social media is. And so I began looking into that. And as I began developing a Facebook presence and then a Twitter presence as well, I began hearing all of this stuff about self-publishing and how you could publish yourself through Kindle Direct. And so I began looking into it, and I thought, I'm not sure I need a publisher. And so I began publishing on Kindle Unlimited in 2014.
Did you?
Yeah, my first sci-fi novel came out then. And it's been great. I've really loved it. I had 9 books out before I started the Gabe's Girl, Teddy's Boys series. And there's nothing I don't love about it. I come home every night and I look forward to the several hours of writing that I get. I write in all of my spare time. My daughter calls and says, oh, I want to do this weekend. I'm like, sure, we can do that. And I can take my laptop and I can sit in the corner while she's doing this and I can write. So I plan my whole day around, getting an hour here and an hour there to write. It's just something that I absolutely love to do. And I hope I will always love it and always be able to do it.
That is fantastic. Now listen, people who are watching this video, we're going to put links. If she gives them to me, we'll put the links to all these books in the description of this video, right underneath the links to her Vellas and her social media presence, which I know you've got one now. Mm. What you drinking there? Is that a Guinness?
No, I wish. It's just a Diet Coke.
Well, I thought maybe it was a Guinness. It was dark, Isn't that
a
nice?
little early still to be drinking Guinness.
I thought we had a big old time difference, so I wasn't sure, but big Guinness if it was me. Anyway, so we'll have links to all of her books in here, so don't worry about that. Can you go through all 9 names for us?
Sure. So the first book is Snowburn. And that is a science fiction book. My sort of first love as a reader was science fiction. Dune is the first book I really remember reading. Wow. I was probably about 8. My dad was very fixated on the Dune series, and he always had the Dune books lying around, and I picked them up and began reading them. And so that's sort of the first real book I remember reading.
You read Dune at 8?
At 8, yeah. It's very clear in my mind too, like where I was when I was reading it. My parents had this ridiculous banana chair covered in shag carpeting, I think, and I got chicken pox. And I would sit in the chair and rub my face against the shag to try to rub because I wasn't allowed to pick at the scabs. But I could rub against the shag, and it gave, that little bit of relief from the itching. So I would sit and I would do that, and I would have Dune in front of me, and I was reading to try to get my mind off the itching of the chicken pox. I remember it's a very clear memory. It's one of my first really clear memories. So Snowburn's the first book. The second book that I brought out was called Neon Blue. That's a paranormal romance with demons and werewolves and vampires. Much more of a typical, I think, paranormal romance than Teddy's Boys. The next book that I brought out was a really short story, a novella in the same world as Neon Blue, and it's called Black Magic Friday. I then began a series called Daddy PI, which
Called
is
what?
a Daddy PI,
Ooh.
which is a kinky series. And it's a mystery. The first book is their meeting, and the next book, they're on a cruise and they have to solve a mystery. And the book after that, they're back in New York and they have to solve a different mystery.
Okay, so all three of them are Daddy PI, but they have like a subtitle also.
It's 0.5, 1, and 2. I made it really simple.
Great.
The next book is a spin-off from that series called Missing Ink. With a tattooist, it's an age gap romance. So a tattooist and an ex-military gentleman find each other in the middle of a mystery of who is trying to sabotage her tattoo parlor in New York. The one after that is called Blood Yellow. And that is the sequel to Neon Blue. So the demon is back. And then, good heavens. Oh, Beguiled, which you can't find on Amazon, I'm afraid.
Why?
I will give a link.
Okay. As long as we have a link, because I promised a link.
And then I started Teddy's Boys. And I started Vella really early, pretty much as soon as you were able to. So I had episodes uploaded from June, I guess, of last year. And it was a return to form for me because when I was first trying to sort of learn the craft of writing, I published in a serial format on a bunch of fan fiction websites. And so it's chapter by chapter, week by week, and got a lot of feedback on my writing that way. And it was a really good experience. And I loved the serial format. I absolutely adored it. And coming away from it and publishing novels was a bit of, sort of creative separation anxiety. I really missed the whole experience of publishing serially. And so when I heard about Vella, when I saw Amazon start talking about Vella, I got really excited about it and the opportunity to go back to a serial format. And I knew I wanted to write about a Manchester girl because my daughter and her friends have had this really interesting experience as what we call over here ladettes. They are very brash and in your face. They have a ton of attitude, but they really back it up with a lot of heart. And they're not malicious in being in your face, but they have a real attitude about them. And I wanted to write about that and honor it in a way that makes people who maybe, feel negatively about the snowflake generation, understand a little bit about where they're coming from, and that they do have a lot of kindness to them underneath the what we call over here blackitude. And so I wanted to write that, and that's where Teddy's Boys, the story, came out of. And being able to write that in a serial format was just icing on the cake. I was very excited about it.
Well, I think it's wonderful. And I want everybody to understand you're across the pond. You're in England. You are in Manchester. So this is something she can write about from a position of knowing and understanding.
As an American,
about the ladettes and the blackitude,
I really see it. And maybe if you live in this culture all your life, you don't see it as much as I do. But coming from Boston and moving to Manchester, it's been a real transition. The attitude is very definitely there, and it's something I wanted to be able to give back to American readers so that you sort of understand a little bit about the culture here. It's impossible to understand the culture unless you come and live in it, but
you've been there a good long minute.
I've been here a long minute, almost 20 years.
Yeah, 18 years now. And yes. So definitely you are speaking from a position of knowing. Yeah. And I love that. So you did start publishing. That took one of my questions away. You started publishing on Vella as soon as they popped it up. So you had episodes up in July of 21.
Yep.
How did you hear about it? I guess through Kindle publishing, because you were already into that.
Yeah, I think I saw an email or something that came around and said something about Vella. And then I got into a Discord group where a bunch of authors were talking about Vella, and they'd been talking about serial platforms for a while. So Radish and Dreamy and other serial platforms were things that they'd been talking about. And then all of a sudden Vella began popping up, and I thought, oh, that's great. And I looked at Radish, and I looked at Dreamy as well. But the problem with those platforms is that if you publish there and then make it into an ebook and put it in Amazon, you can't make it in Kindle Unlimited because it's been published somewhere else. So it's not a first publication. And like, I get that. I get why they want to have exclusive content in Kindle Unlimited. I don't argue with that at all. But what I liked about Vella is that you can take the Vella story, a serial story, and make it into an ebook and then give it to your readers that way. Because I knew that there were going to be many of my readers who were not going to be happy with the Vella experience. And I get that. A lot of people who like to read different ways.
Now, what is your opinion on that? Do you think that we're talking about two different generations of readers here?
No, I really think it's preference. There are some people who like to read stories in bites, and they like, a sort of a real concrete little bit that they can digest in a sitting. And I'm very sympathetic with that. I commuted in Boston for 10 years on a train, and my commute was exactly 40 minutes long. And I needed things that I could do in 40 minutes. And starting a book and reading for 40 minutes is a really dissatisfying experience. You're going to have to stop in a place that you don't want to put the book down. After you've been reading for 40 minutes, you want to finish the book. And I can finish a book usually in about 2 hours. And so it is incredibly dissatisfying. Hi, honey. You don't have to come through like that, sweetheart. It's a really dissatisfying experience to have to stop 40 minutes in. And so I am completely sympathetic with people who want to read that way, who want very discrete chunks that they can read in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. I totally get that. And I have that sort of experience with magazines as well. Like, I subscribe to a whole bunch of magazines, and Asimov's Science Fiction is probably the best known magazine. And I used to read that on the train, and I used to really enjoy that. And so I really get the difference between people who want to sit down and read a whole book and people who want to just read a couple of chapters that have a real arc to them, a beginning, a middle, and an end within the episode that they're reading, so that they don't have to read, another 50 or 60 pages in order to get to a satisfying place to stop.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, that's very good. I don't think I had a conversation with anyone who had as good a handle on it as what it sounds like you do.
Something I've thought about for a long time.
Yeah. It does sound like that. It does sound like a very thoughtful response. If you were the keeper of the keys for Vella, what would you change?
Please go international, really quickly. I don't understand why it's limited to both US readers and authors, and maybe just limited to US authors if the problem is the platform, but open it up to international readers. I get so many frustrated readers who are like, can I please just read your Vella episode? And I can't give it to them outside the platform. No. So it's, and I share their frustration. It's incredibly frustrating to have something constantly dangled at you, but you can't read it yet. You're in Sweden. No, sorry. Or you're in Austria or Australia. No, you can't read it yet. So I think that's really frustrating. And I don't know why they're doing that, except that maybe they're having sort of, infrastructure problems, but I would open it immediately. And I'm really surprised that it's gone on this long and they haven't. I honestly thought they were going to do it in January and they didn't. Well,
they won't be paying the bonuses once they open it internationally.
I guessed that, but they're closing it down in March anyway. And so, if you're going to close down the bonuses in March, open it internationally.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that they were going to close them down in March.
Looking that way.
Interesting. March, they're going to pay out March, or?
You take a look at the FAQ for Vella, but that's where I saw it. So end of March, I would think that they're going to stop paying bonuses.
Wow. Well, if they do that and they're not international, they're going to lose a bunch of writers.
Yeah, I don't see the incentive for staying in Vella if you're going to do it. I'm sticking it through I want to finish this series in Vella. So even if they're not paying bonuses by April, I want to finish out. But I don't see any incentive for putting in the next series in Vella if they're not going to
There
pay.
won't be if they stop that. And I
No.
think they know that. They're not a company of numpties.
Not a company of numpties, but they are a company that moves slowly in my estimation. So they are at least 6 months, if not a year, behind Radish with respect to the serial platform. And they are sort of slowly moving up the hill, but I think it's a little slow and behind. And I think that they've had slow uptake because they are so far behind in the curve. They've had slow uptake from readers, which I think is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. And now we're going through a set of problems where episodes are getting stuck and they're not publishing. Yep. And, I have one that is stuck right now. And after having gotten through COVID where I couldn't write at all, I was really eager to see my next episodes go up, and they say they're live, but it's been days now. And even the top writers like Audrey Carlin, who has the #1 story, she can't even get her stuff poked up there. So
it's clearly an infrastructure problem. It's clearly a technical problem, but they've had it before. What month was it? Guess it would be January.
November. I thought they had some problems too.
November, they definitely had some issues. They did a big update, I think, at the end of November, and that seemed to clear up those issues. I was posting in January, and I had 4 episodes get stuck, and they did unstick them, to be fair, within about 24 hours. But I had a ton of complaints from readers who were saying that we've tried to upload the episode, and it takes the coins, but it tells us that the episode's unavailable. And I was like, oh, geez. So yeah, it was, I had tons of complaints, but to be fair, they were very responsive. So as soon as I took screenshots of those complaints and emailed them over to Amazon did fix it.
I bet so. Yeah, they don't care what the writer's complaining about. If the reader's complaining, they'll care.
Customer experience. They are a customer service company, and that's fair enough. I think you have to be.
So do you have, other than the 3rd book that completes Teddy's Boys and Gabe's Girls, do you have any other Vella plans? Sounds like no, but any other books?
We'll see what summer brings. So I have a science fiction series that I'm about to launch that carries off of Snowburn. And it's called The Novels of the Deep Frontier, which is the sort of the area where I'm writing. And they start with the lore of space. And the lore of space was written back originally, it's a book that I've rewritten several times, but it was originally rewritten when I was publishing serially. And so it would lend itself tremendously well to being slightly rewritten and then put on Vella first. But I'm not feeling confident about the platform. So I've actually applied to Radish and been accepted at Radish.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So if Amazon hasn't gone international by summer, then I'm going to be putting The Lure of Space initially on Radish and then bringing it to ebook.
Excellent. Well, that's great to hear. And if you could say anything to your readers here about Vella, what would you say?
Give it a chance. I actually really enjoyed a serial reading experience. And reading on my phone is hard for me just because my eyes are old. But you can read in Vella on your iPad or on your Kindle or wherever. So you don't have to read it on your phone. And so if your eyes are old like mine and you have trouble reading on your phone, you can look at it on other devices, and that might be easier. But there's a real charm to serial stories. And I think they're tremendously satisfying to read because they are encapsulated. There is a story within each episode. I find them really gratifying as a reader. And I think readers who give them a shot, who aren't used to serial stories, but give them a shot, will find that charm and find that satisfaction very quickly. So give it a shot. See what you think. There is a ton out there now. There's something for every taste. If you want science fiction, there's science fiction. If you want paranormal, there's paranormal. If you want contemporary, there's contemporary. There are mysteries. There are biographies. I never thought you'd see a biography on Vella. There are biographies on Vella. Wow. So, there's anything that you could want on this platform now, and give it a shot and see if you can find something that you like, because I would be very surprised if you don't. Not all authors are going to take their Vella books and turn them into ebooks. And I know that there's been some frustration about that. I totally understand why people aren't doing it. I've chosen to do it personally because a lot of my readers are ebook readers, but I understand that a lot of authors don't. And so I think you are missing out a little bit on potentially wonderful stories if you don't give Vella a chance.
I agree. Couldn't have said it better myself, people. So this has been EJ Frost, and I'm so delighted that you took the time to record on our show here on Hella Vella. And I really encourage you guys to click on the links that are in the description of this video and go out and check out this author's work. Sounds like it's going to be a great time. And this has been Azriel Lawless once again for Hella Vella. Bye-bye now.